I give you $5 tomorrow.
Thanks. Good morning. Hmm. We are trying out the outdoor option for class today, just to see how it goes. And being flexible, as who knows what will come along. There was a bear in the neighborhood this morning already,
no.
apparently, but not in my yard, but up the street. So hopefully they'll stay. They tend to stay away when you're out and about, but who knows? We'll be flexible and smart, of course.
I will try.
So go ahead and take all the time you need to get settled for class this morning. And I want to encourage taking, all the time you need. Just time to pause, time to breathe, and make sure that the space that you're setting up for yourself is exactly the way that you need it to be. So whether it's by taking some breaths, setting yourself up. I always find it helpful when I'm seated to have just a little bit of support underneath me. Maybe that's using a block or a stack of books or a pillow, just to help support. It's easier to sit up sometimes if our hips have that support underneath us. So take any time that you need to get comfortable. And today's theme is pause. And I like this idea. It's something I learned when learning a little bit about meditation, specifically in the Buddhist tradition. And just to be clear, Buddhism isn't something that is really even considered a religion, but it's just more of a practice, something that we can utilize to help us kind of go inward and feel calm and feel safe and things like that. So Buddhism is something that I feel like we can learn a lot from and doesn't have to take away from any spiritual practice that we may already have, or if we're not a spiritual person at all, it's not necessarily spiritual in nature, but more of a set of skills that help us to feel safe in our bodies and help us to just feel safe going inward. And for today's practice, just feel safe, just kind of stopping every now and then. So in our society, in our culture, it can be really common to have just kind of this go, go, go mentality. And that's understandable. I get it. We're conditioned and programmed to be active and to do and do and do. And I think it's important to have a practice or a situation where we can just stop. And in Buddhism, it's called the sacred pause, where we just don't let whatever's happening around us completely overwhelm us, but instead try to just take a few moments to not be doing things. So today's class, while we're certainly going to be doing some things, going to be breathing, going to be moving, going to be resting, which is an action, is active. We're going to also be just every now and then just pausing. And I want to invite you to find moments where maybe you want to pause, where you are maybe called to not be doing, but instead maybe just see if it feels okay for you to just stop for a little while and see if that feels all right. So whatever that means to you, feel free to pause at any moment, maybe in a restful shape, or just standing, or just sitting, or laying down, or taking a nap. That's what your pause looks like today. There's no wrong or right way to do this. So to start, I always like to invite us to just take a moment to breathe, to be here, to arrive in this moment, to set aside any and everything that came before you. And maybe you want to do so by maybe looking around your surroundings a little bit. So maybe notice with your senses, like your vision, with your hearing, with your sense of touch, your sense of smell, and maybe even your sense of taste. What's happening right now? So if we could challenge ourselves to be here now, what would that look like? What would that feel like? And take a few moments to just be here in this moment, right here and now. Maybe you can notice some sounds farther away, maybe things outside the space that you're in, something farther away from you, a fan maybe, or the sound of a car going by, anything you can hear farther away. And see if maybe we can also notice something closer to you, whether that's the sound of your own breathing, maybe a sound in the room where you are or the space that you inhabit, or maybe it's just the sound of my voice. And take a few moments to just focus in on that while you breathe nice and slow. And again, maybe your sense of smell is activated. You can notice the smells in the space where you are. Or your sense of touch. Maybe you just want to notice the contact that your body makes with whatever you're seated or laying down on. Maybe even the clothes against your skin, maybe air movement around you. Just see if you can notice. And with any mindful practice, see if we can just set aside any judgment, any sense of right or wrong. This is just how things are. Take a few more slow breaths here. You will be distracted by other thoughts, other sensations. That's very normal. Your brain is designed to wander, to find other things to focus on. But see if you can just set that aside for now. Just acknowledge I'm thinking, or thoughts are coming to my mind, and then return to whatever sense you're focusing on right now, whether it's sound, sight, touch, smell. Maybe just focus on this breath. If you want to use your breath as an anchor. And then maybe just this next breath. Focusing on one breath at a time. One breath, one sensation, whatever feels best for you. And if you haven't already, feel free to close your eyes. Or maybe just look down with your gaze, maybe just unfocus your gaze just a bit. Just noticing your sensation. Maybe going inward a little bit if that feels okay. Maybe even placing a hand somewhere on your body, maybe on your heart space or on your belly. Feeling your breath, how it impacts your body, maybe inhaling and exhaling. And as we continue to just be in this moment, see if it feels okay to pause and just notice. Setting aside right or wrong, good or bad, just being here in this present moment. Continue to breathe nice and slow. Practicing this mindful skill. And then as we continue to take maybe about 3 or 5 more breaths during this meditative practice, this practice of just pausing, not needing to do a whole lot. See if you can just maybe scan from your head to your toes, noticing any sensation that might be present, any tension, maybe even any pain that might be present, trying to approach it non-judgmentally. Starting with the top of your head, the crown moving all the way down through your head, past your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your teeth, your tongue, down into your jaw, just noticing what you notice, moving into your neck and shoulders, noticing any sensation or tension that might be present. Just allowing it to be right now, if you can. Moving down your left arm, past your bicep, your forearm, into your left hand, your thumb, your fingers, underneath your palm, and back up your left arm on the underside of your arm. Back up to your left shoulder and across your collarbone, scanning down your right arm, past your bicep and forearm. All the tiny little tendons and bones in your right hand, your thumb and fingers. Underneath your hand to your palm and back up your right arm. Back up to your right shoulder and then moving down the front of your torso, past your heart space, your sternum, into your midsection, your torso and your core. Noticing any tension or clenching that might be present. Down through the lower abdomen. Into your pelvic area with your hips. Very sensitive parts of our body as you move past the hips, the pelvis, the pelvic floor, into your thighs, down the fronts of your legs, your knees, your shins. Just noticing as you move past your ankles into the many, many bones and tendons and muscles in your feet, your toes, and underneath your feet to your soles of your feet, sensitive and also yet very sturdy parts of your feet, past your heels and up the backside of your legs, your calves, your hamstrings, moving back up toward the glutes, up the backside of the body, the lower back, noticing any sensation or tension, the backside of your core, all the muscles in your back, up to the backside of your neck, and then back up to the crown of your head. And with your body scan, again, just setting aside any judgment about what you might have noticed, how that felt, right or wrong, good or bad. Just notice how that was feeling for you. And we'll do this again later just to see any difference with the breathing, with the movement, with the pauses that we take today. What kind of impact does that have on our bodies, on our systems, on our being? Take a few more breaths here as we just absorb all that information. We get ready for some restorative shapes. And this first one can simply just be done lying on our backs. If you have any props with you or any things like a blanket that you can use to put underneath your back to kind of support and open up through your heart space if you want, feel free to utilize those. Otherwise, you can also just simply lay on your back in Shavasana. And we'll be here for at least 3 minutes or so. So now that we've especially done some breathing, it can be very important to just rest. So starting out, I want to encourage you just to rest your body on your back. And if you want, again, trying to have that heart open in space. So maybe spread your arms wide on your mat. See if it feels okay to just open up through your heart space. And maybe you'll notice some sensations here in this opening space. See if you can make yourself as comfortable as possible. Really opening up through your body. or just resting by laying down. If you don't find this comfortable, maybe just adjust in any way you see fit, taking time to just rest into this shape. With restorative shapes, we tend to hold them for pretty long periods of time. And the idea is that as you're in the shape, you might notice your body shifting over the time that you're in this space. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it does. It's usually the sign of your fascia in your body, that layer of tissue that goes all the way around your body, the largest single organ in the body, kind of holds everything together. When you engage in restorative shapes, the idea is typically to allow the fascia to relax. And it can take a while. We can carry a lot of tension, a lot of trauma in these spaces. So see if it feels okay to just let your body rest. And again, adjust over time. It might take a minute, so just be patient. When your mind wanders, again, see if you can't just apply the mindfulness practice from before and just notice, oh, I'm thinking. Try not to judge it. Just let it happen if that feels okay. And continue just to rest and pause and relax. Continue to breathe nice and slow. And just notice anything that might be coming up for you. It can be hard to just sit sometimes or rest your body. That's where you are. See if you can just allow that to be okay. It's all right that this is hard sometimes. See if you can lean into the practice and just let things be the way they are right now. Continue to breathe nice and slow. Your body might still be adjusting to this shape. Let's take about 10 more breaths in this shape, allowing our body just to rest and recuperate from whatever it is we've had going on this week. And if you find the shape isn't serving your needs, feel free to take a break from it. You can pause even from rest. Continue just to notice how things are feeling for you in this space. Maybe just a few more breaths here. very gently take some time to come out of this shape. So wherever you are, just maybe gently press yourself up to seated. And we're going to change it just slightly into a butterfly fold. So while sitting up, I encourage you to bring your feet together in front of you and then bring your knees open. If this isn't comfortable to have your knees right here, feel free to put a block or a stack of books underneath your knees if you like. And then see if it feels okay to maybe lean forward. Now you can go either way with this actually. If you want to take this shape with your legs and then lay back down again, go for it. That's another option here. Or you can take a forward fold if you want. And again, we'll be here for a little while. So take your time getting into this shape and notice how your body feels as you move into this restful restorative shape. See if you can find a shape that allows you to not have any muscle tension or very much going on in terms of your muscles in your body. See if you can't just let your body rest and relax here. You might notice that this shape feels very different in your body. Maybe it's harder to rest in this one. Maybe it's easier. Who knows? See if it feels okay to just let your body slowly melt into this shape. Taking all the time you need to rest and relax. Wherever you are, I want to encourage taking some nice slow breaths. Noticing how this is feeling. See if you can release any unnecessary tension. Taking about 10 more breaths here. Seeing if you can just notice how it feels to be in this shape. Nice and slow. Breath. Recognizing that you might have some thoughts come up for you. And maybe just label it as, well, I'm thinking. Letting that be okay. And then setting aside anything that comes up to instead just kind of be more present in the moment. Be here now. And then whenever you're ready, go ahead and sit back up, coming out of that forward fold. And we'll move into a gentle twist. So moving back to our backs. Feel free to put something under your head if you would like some support. Laying down on your back, bringing your feet to the mat with your knees bent. And then just gently let your knees fall to one side. I'm going to have mine fall to my right side to start. And if you want, you can put a block or something underneath your knee if you would like a little bit of support for that. or just let them fall off to the side. Sometimes they'll just kind of take care of themselves. You can also place a block or something like that between your legs if that feels better for you. So wherever you are, see if that feels okay to just have this very gentle twist. Your knees coming over as far as you want, allowing your torso to twist very gently. And maybe your arms come out to your sides a bit. If you want to have them extended out, that's up to you. Or you're also welcome to just place them alongside your body or anywhere that feels comfortable. And see if, like the other shapes, you can settle into this. Twists are shapes where our body can really adjust over time even more so than others. So if you notice your body changing and shifting, it's pretty normal. Take your time, rest and relax. Again, seeing if it feels okay to take some slow, deep breaths here. And then very gently begin to bring your knees back up to center, resting for just a moment with your feet on your mat. And without changing your body too much, see if it feels okay to just prepare, put your knees in the other direction, the twisting in the opposite way. Again, using a block if you want or not, supporting your head if you want or not, and just going in a twist in the opposite direction from before. Now, this might feel totally different. Maybe your hips will need some support. Maybe things will just feel different for you and you want to take things in a different way or use props to support yourself. See if you can just allow your body to rest and soften into this shape while we continue to pause and rest and relax. Setting aside distractions, setting aside any thoughts that might come up for you. Use any of the tools that we've used so far, mindfulness, senses, breathing, that might help you to be present as much as you can, knowing that it's not possible to do it 100% of the time. Do the best you can as you continue to practice. Breathing nice and slow. You're to close your eyes if that helps, or keep them open if that's more useful for you. If you're not sure, give them a try and see what works best. I invite you to be here for another 5 or 7 breaths or so. Whenever you're ready, feel free to bring your knees back up towards center. Come back up to a seated shape. And from here, we'll see if we can flip over into tabletop position or on our hands and knees. For tabletop here, invite your hands to be underneath your shoulders and your knees to be underneath your hips, if at all possible. From here, just simply moving in some small circles to warm up through your shoulders and your hands. Maybe you want to move your hips from side to side a little bit, making some circles. You can start to make your circles bigger and bigger if you want. Maybe you make your circle so big, you start to move back towards child's pose, pressing to your hands, maybe even coming forward a bit more, almost into a little bit of a plank, just circling as big or as small as you want. If that's not right for you, feel free to find a smaller circle or some other shape or movement that suits your body today. And if you haven't already, feel free to go the other direction with your circles. Again, with your hips circling around, maybe coming forward into that plank and maybe even back into a child's pose. Big or small or medium or whatever circles feel right for you. And then sitting back on your heels for just a moment here. It feels okay just to do a little bit of work with your wrists, like rotating them very gently. Spend a little bit of time on our hands so it can be helpful to prepare ourselves for that movement. And then if you want, you can also take your hands to your shoulders and bring your elbows toward each other, circling up and around and back down. Taking as much time for the slow movement. And then reverse the direction of your circles if you haven't already. Big or small circles. Maybe your elbows come together, maybe they don't, whatever feels right for you in this circle. And then maybe a few head circles with your neck going around very gently, especially on the back. Moving ever so slowly. Then going in the other direction as well, just to find some balance. All right, and back to our tabletops whenever you're done with those warm-up exercises, and we'll move into thread the needle. So for this, we simply want to reach our arms, one hand up in the sky. I'm starting with my right side. And then you take that arm and you bring it underneath your left arm, your other arm, and start to work your way down toward the mat. Now, if you have props like a block, maybe you want to set your head down on a block. If that's not right for you, feel free to skip it. And really settle into this shape. Don't forget to breathe wherever you are. And then after your next exhale, maybe you'll want to bring your arm back up, undoing your twist and coming back down with your hand toward the mat. And of course, we'll go to the other side. So feel free to bring your other arm. I'm just going with my left arm now, reaching up toward the sky, and then threading that all the way through. Again, using a block or a pillow to support your head if you want. Otherwise, maybe you bring your arm and your shoulder all the way down to your mat. Take your time here, resting your body and breathing nice and slow in these slightly more active shapes where we can still find some rest. And then whenever you're ready, feel free to undo that arm, bring it all the way back up, and set your hand back down on the mat. And from here, we'll move through a little bit of a flow from child's pose. So feel free to join me in child's pose by bringing your back toes together and your knees, spread them as far wide apart as you want. And then maybe you want your arms out in front of you, bringing your head down toward your mat. And let's take about 5 breaths here, resting in this child's pose. See if it feels okay to let your lower back release, your hips, anything that might be tense. See if you can release that tension right now. And stay here as long as you want, letting your body adjust to this shape. But just know we also have the option to come from child's pose, using your hands stretched out in front of you to gently pull yourself up to a tabletop. And then from there, leaving pretty much everything the way it is, maybe even move all the way down to your belly. So maybe resting your head down toward the mat. Maybe your arms come to your sides if you want. No, you can rest here. Maybe your legs even kind of splay apart a bit. Your heels might move to the outsides of the mat as they just release. Take a few slow breaths here. And then if you want, I would encourage you to just take as much slow movement as possible, like you're moving underwater or through molasses. So taking your hands and very slowly pressing them under your shoulders and moving very slowly through from the belly Shavasana all the way to tabletop again, and then maybe back to child's pose. Again, just as slow as you can possibly move. And then rest in child's pose there. Or perhaps on your next inhale, you want to bring yourself forward again, moving, maybe gripping your fingers into the mat and pulling yourself up. Very slowly working your way through that shape, coming all the way back down to your belly again. So it can look a little bit like this. So you're inhaling up, moving through tabletop. You don't really even stop at tabletop. And then exhale down into child's pose. Again, like you're moving underwater through thick liquid. And then whenever you're ready to inhale, perhaps you pull yourself back up to tabletop. And then exhale, really thinking about every single movement or muscle that is involved in this shape. And maybe just about 3 or 4 more of these. Moving through this shape again, see if you can just take it as slow as humanly possible, thinking about every muscle change that happens. Curving your back as you come up into tabletop. And then maybe even arching your back the other direction as you come all the way down to your belly. I'm going to do this one more round. Feel free to stop, pause in any restful shape or some other movement that feels good in your body whenever you're ready. Doing what feels best and right for you in this moment this morning. And then meeting back up in tabletop whenever you're ready. You can take any movement that feels good for you. Maybe you want to move your belly in circles. or something else that your body needs, or just settling into stillness into tabletop. From here, I invite you to move into downward facing dog. So maybe your hands come forward a couple of inches, flipping your feet over and coming up with your hips into downward facing dog. And we won't be here for a long time, but I do want to encourage you to take the time you need to adjust to this shape. Being inverted is a very different shape than where we were before. So feel free to pedal out your legs, kind of like I'm doing right now, or maybe even moving your hips a little bit side to side. Continue to warm up. Maybe flexing your toes. And don't worry if your heels don't come all the way down to the mat. See if you can bring your hips up as high as possible, pressing through your fingertips, working your ankles a little bit, giving them a little bit of love. And then whenever you're ready, feel free to bring one leg up toward the sky. I'm starting on my right side. So pointing your toes down toward your mat, toward the ground. Bring your leg up as high as you can. And then whenever you're ready, bring it on through for a low lunge. So bring your foot up between your hands, help it, inch it forward if you need. And then bring your back leg down toward the mat for your low lunge here. Take all the time you need to adjust. Having your hands on either side of your front leg. Resting into this low lunge. And then if you want, feel free to straighten your front leg. Stretch out your hamstring a little bit if that feels okay. Try not to let your hips be uneven if at all possible. Try to keep them perpendicular to the front of your mat, parallel with the top of your mat. And then whenever you're done with that hamstring stretch, feel free to bend your front knee again and then come back into downward facing dog so we can do the other side. Pedaling your legs a few more times if you like. Feel free to bring your left leg or the other leg from before up into the air. Three-leg dog. Pointing your toes toward the ground and then bringing your foot all the way through for another low lunge. Bringing your back leg down to the mat, hands on either side of your front leg, and then resting in this low lunge. Whenever you're done with that, feel free to straighten your front leg for a hamstring stretch. If that feels right for you. Again, trying to keep your hips parallel with the top of your mat. Sometimes one hip will pop forward. And see if you can have as perpendicular as possible. They may not perfectly be that way, and that's fine. Not everyone's hips do that. And stay here as long as you want, or come back into your low lunge. Stretching just a little bit longer here before moving into your downward facing dog once more. Pausing here, see if it feels okay to be completely still in this downward facing dog. Maybe you want to keep pedaling, go for it if that's the case. If not, see if it feels okay to just pause here and let your body be still in this shape. Still pretty active, with your hips up in the air. Whenever you're ready, feel free to start moving your feet very gently toward your hands for a forward fold. So with your hands on your mat, support yourself, or maybe even holding on the opposite elbow. Maybe you want to rock a little bit side to side. And in this forward fold, maybe you also want to take your hands behind your back and open up through your chest. If that feels right for you, feel free to do so, maybe even going side to side. This may not feel right for your shoulders, so feel free to just also place your arms across your body, kind of giving yourself a hug. if that feels better in your shoulders and your back. And then whenever you're ready, release your arms and slowly work your way up to standing. I always have to readjust once I move to standing. So feel free to take a few moments here with your feet at least hips width apart, if not wider. Provide a nice solid base for yourself. And then standing in mountain pose here, see if you can bring your shoulders down and back. Maybe even your hands opening forward here. See if you can have a nice open upper torso here, especially through your heart. Maybe close your eyes and just notice what you notice. So scanning your body head to toe, what do you notice now that you've done a little bit of moving, a little bit of rest? What comes up? Again, trying to set aside any distractions and just being present as much as possible in this moment. And then whenever you're ready, feel free to bring your arms up alongside your ears, reaching up to the sky, bringing your palms together if that feels okay, and then letting your body lean to one side. A little bit of a side stretch here while standing. Some people like to bring their feet together for this and just do more of a crescent moon shape. Your hips may go one direction, your arms may go the other. Feel free to do whatever supports you the best for your balance and your body's needs today. And then when you're done with that, come back up through standing, reaching up toward the sky and going in the other direction as well. Again, your hips going one direction, your upper body going the other. Reaching back up whenever you're ready, and then going back to the other side. As I'm going toward my right side, feel free to drop your right arm, maybe down along your side, and maybe you turn your head looking up toward your upper arm. Just a slight variation on that. If that's not right for you, feel free to do the other version we did before or skip it completely. On your next inhale, bring your both arms back up to the center. And then drop to the other side one more time. Again, feel free to drop your underarm, your lower arm, maybe looking up toward your upper arm. Feeling a stretch maybe through that entire right side of your body. And then whenever you're ready to inhale, come back up to center, maybe looking up toward your hands. And then releasing your arms down at your sides. For this next one, I invite you to have a pretty wide stance and just kind of work your way from side to side, maybe kind of like you're stepping from foot to foot, and your arms just kind of do whatever they do, falling side to side. Maybe you let your head in only action two, letting your head just release and sway from side to side as well. And then maybe you also start to really reach. Maybe you're reaching really far with your arms, one side to the other, letting your body just do whatever feels right, whatever happens as you move from side to side. If this is too much, feel free to skip it and not move this much, or slow it down and just make much smaller movements. Maybe you're reaching a little bit more up to the upper corners, whatever feels best in your body right now. And just releasing and relaxing. Again, going from foot to foot, side to side. And then whenever you're done with that, feel free to bring your arms again up alongside your ears, reaching up. See if you can make your arms and your body as long as possible. And then dive forward into a forward fold one more time. Maybe you pedal your legs a little bit side to side in this forward fold. Really releasing as you're in the forward fold, letting your head, the crown of your head especially, go toward pointing it towards the ground, letting it release. Maybe you shake your head no, nod your head yes, whichever, just moving your head and neck and letting your shoulders and arms release, letting your legs do the work for you right now. And then from here, we'll move into a squat. So bringing your hips about, rather your feet about hips width apart. See if it feels okay to bring your hips towards your feet. If you have some blocks, you might want to utilize that for support. Maybe you just want to sit on a block or a stack of books or pillows. Or if not, feel free to bring your hips, your feet close together. And then maybe you bring your hands, your elbows in between your knees, and maybe your hands come into a prayer shape if that's comfortable for you. And settle into this shape, this malasana or squat. Just notice how it feels to sit and rest in this shape. And move into a seated shape whenever you're ready, supporting yourself as you sit down. And I'll invite you to bring your legs straight out in front of you, if they're not already, as you're seated. And feel free to sit up on something again from before if that helps you. That helps to bring your hips under, tilt them forward just a little bit. That can be more comfortable sometimes. And having your feet straight out in front of you, take one of your feet and bring it up close to you. I'm going to start with my left foot, and I'm going to bring it. You can have it up close to your hip here if you want, or you can move it to the other side of your other foot. So I have my left foot on the right side of my right leg. And then what you'll do is you'll start to rotate, twist your upper body toward your bent knee. So I'm going to start bringing my right arm toward my left knee, my bent knee, and start to rotate my upper body around a little bit. Sitting up nice and tall. As you're in this shape, this twist, it's a pretty deep twist, or it can be depending on how far you go. See if you can really relax, like your under leg, your lower leg that's straight. See if you can make sure it's nice and relaxed. Maybe give it a little wiggle. Because it doesn't really need to be doing anything right now. Neither does your other leg. All the work here is really done with the upper body. So see if you can allow that to happen. And maybe you twist all the way around. Maybe you're just looking just off to the side, whatever feels best for you this morning. And take a few more breaths here. Nice and slow. And whenever you're done, ready to release that, feel free to just unravel before you change your legs. Maybe open to the other side briefly. And then release that. Letting your feet be long on your mat, maybe shake them out a little bit, give them a little bit of a shake. And then whichever leg you've bent before, let's bend the opposite one. So I'm going to bend my right knee now. And again, it can sit on the right side of your leg, or you can put it on the opposite. You can cross your leg over, whatever feels best for you. And as you sit up nice and tall, bring your upper body toward your bent leg. So I'm turning to my right, toward my right leg, sitting up nice and tall. So maybe inhale, make a nice long spine, and then just start to, as you feel comfortable, turn your upper body in that direction, the opposite direction from before. And see if it feels okay to just kind of settle into this shape for a moment. Another option for your arms is to take your left arm and put it in front of your knee like this. Some people like to do that instead if they prefer, or sometimes it's nice to just give your knee a hug. I like to think about giving myself a little bit of a hug. Who doesn't like that? Whichever feels best for you, or some other variation, feel free to just Lean in this direction, twisting your body, sitting up nice and tall for about 3 or 4 more breaths. And then whenever you're ready, feel free to bring yourself back around. Again, let's do a quick counter twist. So not going quite as far, but just turning your head to look the other direction, maybe twisting a little bit, just to balance that out a little bit. And then settling your legs back down on the mat. And from here, I want to encourage you to go into any kind of forward fold that feels right for you. So maybe you've got your legs straight out in front of you together. Maybe you spread them open a little bit. Doesn't matter. Whatever feels best for you. We'll go into a forward fold. And if you can touch your feet, awesome. If not, don't worry about it. But wherever your arms or your hands land, I want to encourage you just to rest. So again, working like we've been doing all morning, trying to just release and relax, rest your body down just a bit more as we have a few more shapes here before we wrap it up today. So taking all the time you need, letting your head and shoulders give into this forward fold shape. And whenever you're done with that shape, feel free to bring yourself back up to seated. And we'll move into a little bit of hip movement here as you sit up nice and tall, bending your feet or bending your knees and putting your feet on the mat. Do a little bit of windshield wiper action. So bringing your legs to one side and then bending them in the other direction. So perhaps you want to inhale them up and bring them this way. Inhale and then exhale to the other side. Letting your hands support you behind you or whatever shape you find yourself in, and just continue to let your knees go back and forth, nice and slow. I find this even provides a little bit of massage across the back of your body, back your glutes maybe even your hips. It's kind of nice to feel that. Breathing in and out. And then if you want, when your legs are going onto one side, feel free to sit up with that, having one knee coming out from your side and bent across, and then the other one coming out from your left if you're sitting the way I am, and then going back behind you in this 90-90 position. And then from here, you can stay right here, maybe support yourself, maybe put your hands on some blocks, or start to bring your body forward along your front leg. And maybe you just support yourself here. Maybe you allow your head, your body, whatever, come all the way down to your mat or your ground, wherever you are. If you're off the mat like I am, so feel free to just allow your body to rest and relax in this shape. If if you're familiar with yoga, this might feel a little bit like half pigeon, but it's a kind of a gentler way to do half pigeon. It's not quite so intense. It doesn't require you to have your back leg all the way behind you. This provides just with a little bit of ease to this shape. So feel free to rest and relax into this shape for a few more breaths, at least 5 or so more breaths. And then coming back up very gently, you know the drill. We just need to go to the other side. So again, perhaps you want to take a moment to windshield wiper your legs a few more times. Otherwise, moving your legs in the other direction. I'm going to turn around so I'm not away from the camera. So having one foot coming out from in front of you and the other one off to your side and back behind you. And then coming down towards your mat one more time, toward the ground, allowing your body to rest in this shape. It's 90-90 leg shape. Again, see if you can relax any part of your body that doesn't need to be used right now. So maybe some part of you that just needs can just be released. See if you can relax your legs, your shoulders, your forehead, maybe your jaw. Maybe about 5 or so more breaths here. And then whenever you're done with that, feel free to press yourself back up seated. And before we find ourselves in our final Shavasana, see if you can roll it, make your way to your back and bring your legs up in the air. Kind of like they were going up a wall maybe. But just otherwise, let them just kind of be up in the air. You're welcome to hold on to the backs of your thighs if you want. Otherwise, maybe move your ankles around. Maybe rock a little bit side to side, just allowing your legs to just be up in the air. Let the blood drain from them. See if you can relax the rest of your body as you do so. And take any other shape that might feel good for you as you prepare for rest. And then take any restful shape, perhaps a Shavasana, laying flat out on the mat. Whatever shape you're in, I encourage you to really take the time to find the right shape. We worry a lot about positioning when it comes to like a warrior two or any other balance shape. But we don't always think about how do I prepare for just resting in Shavasana. So maybe start with your shoulders and make sure that they are relaxing away from your ears. And then work your way down your body, making sure your arms are comfortable. Making sure your torso, your head and neck are in the right position for you. Working your way down to your hips and your legs, and just making sure that you're in the most optimal position for yourself in this shape. Where you continue to breathe nice and slow. And again, see if it feels okay to scan all the way from your head to your toes. I won't walk you all the way through it this time, but just noticing all the way down your body. Any differences now from before? How does my body feel what's present in my body right now. Any sensation, any tension, any release that maybe has happened. Just noticing any differences. Again, setting aside any judgment if possible. And take a few precious moments to just breathe. Rest, setting aside any distractions, and being present. As present as you can here in this moment. While we pause once more. And see if you can again use your senses or your breath to anchor into this moment. Again, maybe focusing on this breath, inhaling and exhaling. And maybe this breath, and then this one. Taking the time to be present here and now. And be quiet here for just a minute or so. Please take all the time you need to rest in this shape. And feel free to stay here in this resting shape for as long as you like. But if you're ready to come out and move about your day, feel free to move your body in very slow, small ways. Maybe deepening your breath, moving your hands, your feet, wiggling your fingers and toes. And whenever you're ready, very slowly work your way to a seated shape. Sitting up whenever you're ready. Finding a supported and easy pose here. Maybe your legs are crossed, maybe not. Let's see if we can go in one more time. We practice on the mat these moments of pauses, moments of breath, moments of awareness and presence, so that we can do so off the mat. In those moments where anger or anxiety or frustration cut us off from what we know is right for us and what is best for us, what our inner wisdom might tell us what to do. So the sacred pause is that incredibly valuable tool that can allow you to do what you need to do. Do what you know is right for you. So I hope that you will consider this as a tool going forward. See in what ways this can be practiced in your daily life. Simply taking a moment to pause. It doesn't have to be for a full-hour yoga class, but even just for 5 breaths. Taking a moment to just pause, check in, and proceed mindfully. Thank you for taking time for yourself today. Thank you for taking time to join me. I'm very grateful for your presence here today. Be well. Namaste.